The rain began just as I was pulling into the driveway, a soft, steady hush against the windshield that did nothing to quiet the static in my head. Another Friday night stretching into the lonely weekend. The house, a neat two-story colonial in a quiet Ohio suburb, was a monument to a life that had once felt unshakable. Now, it just felt big. I pushed the door open, the familiar scent of lemon polish and something faintly lonely, dust in unused rooms, greeting me. "Hello. In here, Dad," came the voice from the living room, not the sullen, monosyllabic grunt I'd grown accustomed to from my 17-year-old son, Liam, over the past 2 years, but something lighter, almost expectant. I found him on the rug, cross-legged, with a large, ornate wooden box in front of him. It was old, its corners worn smooth, with a delicate inlay of darker wood on the lid. I'd never seen it before. "What's all this?" I asked, shrugging off my damp coat. At 47, the damp seemed to settle in my bones these days, a chill that started with Sarah leaving and never quite left. The divorce papers had been final for 8 months, but the finality was a fresh bruise every morning. "I found it in the attic," Liam said, his eyes, the same clear blue as his mother's, sparkling with an enthusiasm I hadn't witnessed since he was a kid building elaborate Lego kingdoms. "Behind that old trunk. Look." He lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, wasn't a board game in the traditional sense. There were no dice, no plastic pieces. Instead, there were stacks of beautifully illustrated cards, several smooth, riverstone tokens in various colors, a slender, leather-bound journal, and a small, hourglass filled with what looked like bronze sand. "It's called Chronicles," Liam read from the inside of the lid. His voice took on a ceremonial tone. "A game of shared memory, forged paths, and truths revealed. For 2 to 4 players. Warning, progress is non-linear and may unlock unexpected vistas." I couldn't help a small, weary smile. "Sounds intense. You know I'm more of a checkers guy, kiddo." "Come on, Dad," he pleaded, and in that moment, he wasn't a nearly grown man straining against the walls of childhood, but my little boy again, begging for one more story. "Just one round. I've already set it up. It's different. It's not about winning, it says here. It's about connecting threads." That was the phrase that got me. Connecting threads. The threads between Liam and me had felt frayed. Some snapped entirely since the family fracture. Our conversations were logistical. "Did you finish your homework? Your mother picks you up at 7. Don't forget to take out the trash." The silence between us had become a third, uncomfortable presence in the house. I saw the hopeful glint in his eye, a silent plea for more than just a game, for a bridge. With a sigh that feigned reluctance more than it felt it, I lowered myself to the floor, my knees protesting. "All right, champ, one game, but when this bronze sand runs out, I'm making meatloaf." He grinned, a full, real grin that transformed his face. "Deal." He explained the rules, which were simple in structure but profound in implication. We each chose a riverstone token, mine a deep granite gray, his a vibrant lapis lazuli. The board was a map of no place specific, but of a life, spaces with names like first memory, lost opportunity, crossroads, silent understanding. You moved by drawing cards, not chance cards, but prompt cards. Liam turned the hourglass, and the bronze sand began its silent flow. "You start, Dad." I drew the first card. The script was elegant, old-fashioned. "Describe a moment you felt truly proud of your child." The air shifted. This wasn't about properties or resources. I looked at Liam, who was watching me, his expression open and curiously vulnerable. The easy answer was his honor roll certificate, his first solo drive. But the game, the strange atmosphere in the lamplit room with the rain as our soundtrack, demanded truth. "It was the year you were 12, I began, my voice rough. "The school science fair. You'd spent weeks on that volcano, the baking soda and vinegar one. The night before, you accidentally knocked it over. It shattered. You didn't cry. You didn't even come wake me up. I found you in the garage at 2 a.m., covered in glue and paper mache, rebuilding it from scratch with this ferocious calm on your face. You didn't win anything, but the way you faced that disaster, the sheer stubborn will of it. I've never been more proud." Silence, save for the rain. Liam's throat worked. He'd forgotten that, I realized. He'd only remembered the failure, the non-win. But I had seen the man in the boy that night. "Thanks, Dad," he whispered, and moved my token 3 spaces forward to a space called Witnessed Strength. His turn. He drew. "Share a memory you associate with the smell of rain." "Easy," Liam said, but his smile was soft, nostalgic. "Camping at Lake Erie. I was, 9. That huge thunderstorm rolled in out of nowhere. The tent started leaking. You and Mum got us all into the car, and we drove to that little diner, the one with the spinning pie case. We sat in a vinyl booth, soaked but laughing, eating awful cherry pie while the rain hammered on the roof. You and Mum let me have coffee, mostly milk. It was the best night. I remember looking at you both, thinking my family was superheroes or something. Invincible. My heart clenched. That memory was a diamond for me, too. But now it had a flaw, a hairline crack knowing how the story ended. Sarah had looked so beautiful that night, her hair curled from the humidity, laughing as she wiped pie filling from my chin. Invincible. We'd felt it, too. The game continued. The sand flowed, but time seemed to stretch and warp around us. Each card was a key, turning in locks we'd both forgotten we'd sealed. What is a song that reminds you of your first love? I drew Sarah. It was always Sarah. Brown-Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. I said the confession, feeling both dangerous and freeing. She hated it, said it was cliché, but she'd dance to it with me in the kitchen anyway, rolling her eyes the whole time. Liam listened, absorbing a piece of our history, a piece of the before. He drew, name a fear you have that you've never told your parent. He stared at the card for a long time. That I'm the reason, he said finally, his voice so low I had to lean in. Not the reason you split, I know you've said that, but that I'm the reason you're so sad now. That my being here is a constant reminder of what's broken. That you'd be happier if you could just clean slate everything, including me. The raw pain in his words was a physical blow. Liam, no. I reached across the board, my hand covering his. God, no. You were the only thing that kept me anchored. You were the best piece of everything. The absolute best piece. The tears came then, not the quiet, private ones I shed in the dark, but hot and acknowledging. He cried too, and for a few minutes, we just sat there, hands clasped, letting the old, poisoned fear drain away. The game demanded more. What is a dream you've quietly let go of? I had to admit my fantasy of selling the house, buying a boat, and sailing the Great Lakes alone, not as a real dream, but as an escape fantasy born of pain. What is something you learned from your mother that you're grateful for? Liam spoke of Sarah's patience, her way of listening that made you feel like the only person in the world. We weren't playing. We were archaeology. We were gently brushing the dust off the artifacts of our shared life, holding them up to the light, acknowledging the cracks and the beauty without flinching. The final card I drew came as the last grains of sand hovered, suspended in the hourglass's neck. If you could relive one single day, unchanged, what would it be? 1,000 days flashed. My wedding. The day Liam was born. But the day that settled in my soul was simpler. The Saturday of your 10th birthday party, I said. The one at the old mini golf place. You'd gotten that neon green golf ball. Your mum was wearing a yellow sundress. You got a hole-in-one on the windmill hole and you jumped so high you almost fell into the water hazard. We got pizza afterwards, and you had chocolate cake smeared from ear to ear. You fell asleep in the backseat on the way home, and your mum held my hand over the console. The whole day was just sunlight. Pure, ordinary, perfect sunlight. I swallowed. I'd live in that day forever. The last grain of sand fell. The game was over. But the room was utterly changed. The silence was no longer empty. It was full, resonant with everything we had poured into it. The rain had stopped. A fresh, cool light was breaking through the clouds, painting the walls in gold and blue. Liam looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed but clear. See, he said softly. Non-linear progress. Unexpected vistas. I let out a wet laugh, wiping my face. You set me up. This wasn't about a game at all, was it? I found the box, he said, a little sheepish. But the cards. I made them up. I wrote them last week. I needed to talk to you, Dad. I needed you to talk to me. And you never would have just sat down for a serious chat. I knew I had to make it a game. The revelation should have felt like a trick, but it didn't. It felt like the most profound gift I'd ever received. My son, this perceptive, courageous young man, had engineered a rescue mission for us both. He had built a vessel out of cardboard and ink and daring hope, and persuaded me to sail it into the treacherous, healing waters of our own hearts. I got up, my body stiff, and walked to the window. The world outside was washed clean, glittering. The meatloaf can wait, I said. How about we order that awful cherry pie from the diner, for old time's sake? He nodded, packing the precious, fake cards back into their beautiful, genuine box. And maybe we can play again next Friday? I have more cards. I looked at my son, really looked at him, seeing not the shadow of my loss, but the brilliant light of his own being, his compassion, his clever, loving heart. He had not just persuaded me to play a game. He had persuaded me to come back to life, to him. It's a date, I said, my voice thick with a new emotion, one that felt suspiciously like joy. That night,